ago, LEGO decided to create a sub-theme within Star Wars which was both cheap and affordable for younger kids, and yet also had a high level of playability. And thus, as I'm sure you're aware, in 2007, LEGO created the LEGO Star Wars Battle Packs, which still to this day are one of the most anticipated and most highly sought after LEGO sub-themes ever created. And thus, with that in mind, here is my updated top 10 LEGO Star Wars Battle Packs. At number 10, we have the Imperial Troop Transport. To kick off this list, we have what is in my opinion the best Imperial army builder to date. It comes with 4 regular stormtroopers, which of course if you're trying to build an Imperial army, there really is not any better battle pack you can get. Although it should be noted these are the Star Wars Rebel stormtroopers, which of course are based off the TV show Star Wars Rebels, which is a cartoon, and thus LEGO has decided to make these stormtroopers a little more animated and the printing is a little more kind of cartoony, which is a shame because I personally prefer the original trilogy stormtroopers. It is still amazing that we get 4 regular stormtroopers in a set, which we have not seen basically ever. The closest we ever got to this was in 2008 when we got that old battle pack which had 3 stormtroopers and a shadow trooper. Although of course being from 2008, those troopers don't have nearly as much detail or printing, so they don't really hold up that well either. It also comes with a usable little transport which actually has been seen in Star Wars Rebels fairly frequently, although of course the one in that cartoon is significantly larger. But I've actually seen on YouTube there are tutorials about if you get multiples of this battle pack, which many people probably do, you can par out the set and create a custom larger version of the model. Or of course you can just take the parts away from the set and just use them individually, because some of the parts in the set actually are fairly useful and fairly rare. So either way, whether you want to keep the set intact or when you part it out, it is quite useful. And even though it's of course not the main part of any battle pack, the set in this one is quite valuable and certainly brings up the price of this when it comes to reselling it. This battle pack sold very well when it was available, and overall I would recommend this to anyone who wants to build up their Imperial army. At number 9, I have put the Bounty Hunter Speeder Bike Battle Pack. This battle pack caused a bit of discussion when it was first released because, as I've said many times, generally speaking, battle packs are used for army building, as in you get a lot of them to build a large amount of a certain particular figure. But this battle pack goes completely the other direction, and instead of giving you 4 nameless characters such as clone troopers, droids, stormtroopers, etc., it gives you 4 known individual characters. So you may be wondering why I decided to put this at number 9 on my list, considering that I often complain about other battle packs not being good enough army builders. That is because in some ways I barely consider this a battle pack at all. Really the only thing that resembles it to a battle pack is the small set, the 4 figures, and its price point. Other than that, however, it could not be further from the standard battle pack, and to me that is not just fine, that is actually really good, and in some ways actually quite smart of the LEGO group to do. I very much see this battle pack as a one-time purchase which a parent may get for a child if they know they're into LEGO Star Wars but they don't know specifically what they want. And if you look at it like that, this is arguably the best battle pack to have ever been released, because of course of the minifigures, which some of them are even exclusive, others are actually quite rare and quite expensive, because while Dengar did appear in the Eclipse Fighter a couple years ago, apart from that he's really only appeared a few times in the Odd Slave 1 set and of course the Super Star Destroyer back in 2011. But of course it is a double-edged sword. If you already have these minifigures from this set, then it will very much bring down the price of those minifigures, which some people aren't entirely happy about, because some people really like the exclusivity of Dengar and some other figures in this set, because of course you can only get them in the really expensive sets. So on some level it's both good and both bad depending on whether you already got these figures or not. Personally, I'm a big fan of the concept and the design of this set, and in fact I'll go as far as say that if they continue to make 4 battle packs per year, I certainly would not mind. In fact, I'd quite anticipate looking forward to that 1 battle pack a year, which would be like the more exclusive, rarer, one-time purchase type thing, and I think that could work really well for the LEGO Star Wars moving forward. At number 8 is the Clone Trooper Battle Pack. This is a battle pack which a lot of people tend to forget about, but in reality it has a lot of really good parts to it. All of the minifigures are exclusive and yet still army builders, and the set is arguably the best battle pack set we've ever got just because of how usable it is. I've talked about how even though they're not the main focus, the sets that come in battle packs can still be a very good addition, and if they're done correctly can be very valuable in years to come. This is an example of one of those. The Bark Speeder is something that we have seen a lot in the Clone Wars and also other Star Wars media, and this is arguably the most accurate representation of that vehicle. Not to mention the minifigures, which if anything have actually gone up in price since this battle pack was released and since of course it was retired. Funny enough, for those who aren't aware, when this battle pack was first released, a lot of people weren't happy with the 2 Bomb Squad troopers because they only appeared in 1 or 2 episodes of the Clone Wars and they really weren't that much of an army builder. And still to this day, that is kind of true, but in my personal opinion, they've actually gone up in value, and in fact, I would like them more today than I did back then, especially considering how the Clone Wars kind of was cancelled and how clone troopers are not nearly as prominent in current sets as they used to be. If I had to change anything about this battle pack, I would say maybe 1 Bomb Squad trooper would be better than 2, just for better army building purposes, but the ARC trooper and the Bark Speeder to me make this set well worth it, which is why I of course put it at number 8 on my list. At number 7 is the Galactic Empire battle pack. I thought for a long time about where I should place this on my list because there are a few things to this set which really aren't wanted at all. Them of course being the Imperial officer and the set, which isn't really that usable. However, the 3 other minifigures we get more than make up for these 3 shortcomings. We get 2 regular stormtroopers which are battle damaged and both come with jetpacks, as well as of course a shock stormtrooper, which is something we have never seen before and is based off Battlefront, which came out in 2015. In regards to that game, which actually I have made a few playthroughs myself on my channel, #cheekyplug, but the game was focused a lot more on the actual combat, ironically more than the actual films it was based off of, which is why we get the more detailed and more battle damaged kind of torsos, which we haven't really ever seen in many other minifigures, especially not just in standard stormtroopers. It is a shame that these minifigures didn't appear in any other sets, and as I said at the beginning, the major drawback of this set was basically everything else apart from the stormtroopers. What really annoys me about this set is the fact that this set is so close to the perfect battle pack. If it came with, say, 1 more shock trooper and possibly a turret, which we actually did see in Star Wars Battlefront the game, I would say this would be a 10 out of 10 absolutely perfect Imperial armor battle pack, but just because of those few little elements, unfortunately it is slightly lower on my list than it would have been. That being said, let's move on. At number 6 is the Rebel Alliance battle pack. In my opinion, this was one of the best Rebel battle packs we had received in years. Until this point, the only different rebels we'd ever really seen were maybe Endor rebels, scout troopers, or possibly some Hoth troopers. But apart from that, we really didn't get rebels any sort of other camos or fatigues or any sort of other printing. But just like the last battle pack, this one was based off Star Wars Battlefront the game, which means it came with different skins and printing which we hadn't seen before in the Star Wars films. Their bodies had a kind of sandy, almost dirty yellow sort of look to them, which is something we haven't really seen before in other Rebel troopers. For me, one of the big draws of this set is the fact that we don't just get humans, but rather we get 2 different alien species, which is something we haven't seen with Rebels, which when you think about it, it does seem a bit odd, because one of the big things is that the Empire are meant to be like white supremacists, they only ever hire humans, whereas the Rebels are meant to be a lot more inclusive, they hire everyone from women to black people to, well, aliens. So it's kind of a bit odd that we've never actually seen any alien species in other Rebel sets, although of course that's probably more to appeal to the human audience. #racism. The speeder bike is nothing too special, although it is a slightly different and slightly larger design to what we're used to, but all in all it can only carry 1 person, which is a bit of a shame because personally I prefer the battle packs which can carry all the troopers, although all in all it can be parted out and some of the pieces are fairly rare in those sort of colours. So while the set certainly is not a draw point, it's not really anything too special, it is a nice addition and something that is kind of canon to the Battlefront game. In my opinion, this is one of the best Rebel battle packs that have ever been released, and until recently was the greatest Rebel pack and greatest Rebel army builder to have ever been sold. But with that being said, let's move on to the next one. At number 5 is the Imperial Trooper Battle Pack. I already talked about the details of this set in my top 10 sets of the year, so if you want more specifics on this, I'd recommend go watching that video, because in this video I'm only going to give the major points I talked about. The reason I put this above the Imperial Transport on this list is because I believe this Imperial Battle Pack appeals not just to those who want to build the Imperial Army, but also those who already have a large Imperial Army and want to build a collection, maybe a squadron of really rare, really cool minifigures, of course, in the Death Troopers. The Death Troopers only ever came in one other set, Krennic Shuttle from last year, which was fairly expensive and you only got 2, so of course it would be very difficult to build an army of them that way. And the regular Stormtroopers which come in this set are the original trilogy ones as opposed to the Rebels ones we of course got in the Troop Transport. Unlike the minifigures, the set in this battle pack really is nothing special at all. In fact, we have seen many walkers just like it in the past. I'd recommend, if you are going to buy a lot of these, which most people probably want to, I'd recommend keeping the battle packs and parting them out rather than trying to resell the sets individually, because I doubt you're going to get a lot of money back for these because no one is going to be buying this for the set. I believe this battle pack is the perfect combination of regular Stormtroopers, which of course you would want to build a massive army of, and somewhat specialized troopers, which you may not want to build quite as large of an army, but still not so specialized to the point where you can use them, unlike say officers or other minifigures which we sometimes get in other battle packs. The Death Troopers can actually be bought in high quantity. At number 4 is the Rebel Trooper battle pack. As I said with the last battle pack, I'm going to try and keep this brief because I did go into more detail with my top 10 sets of the year. year. The reason I put this above the Imperial Troopers is because of the set it comes with. Now, while of course I did say that this set with the Imperial Troopers really is nothing special whatsoever and can only be really used for partying out, this you can actually get in large quantities and would certainly go very well with the Rebel Troopers and the Rebel Alliance. It may surprise you to know that the design of this turret and speeder are surprisingly rare and something we haven't seen for some time. The majority of turrets we tend to get in modern battle packs are either turrets which are unmanned or more like cannons which kind of spin around on a few legs, whereas this one is more similar to kind of a barricade type of thing, which personally I actually do prefer because it feels more accurate to something you would see in universe, as is of course the speeder, which is also seems to be more accurate with a smaller, almost cheaper design, which is also fairly accurate to something you would see the rebels using. Although of course the main draw for this set and all battle packs is the minifigures, and while it doesn't come with the alien species or the jetpacks like the Rebel Alliance battle pack does, the helmet as well as the darker colouring, specifically the printing on the legs and the torso, make this a significantly better figure than the ones we get in the Rebel Alliance in my personal opinion. With that all being said, the main reason I put this above the Rebel Alliance battle pack is simply because I think it is a better army builder. With the sets and the minifigures, I really can't imagine a battle pack more suited to building a Rebel Alliance army. As I said in my top 10 sets of the year, building a Rebellion army really is not as easy as it seems because of course they do not come in many sets and the ones they do come in tend to be fairly expensive, but this is certainly the best alternative and easiest way if you want to build up an army which can really go against the Empire. At number 3 is the Utapau Troopers. Perhaps I should start by saying that I'm a big Clone Wars fan and I do not hate Revenge of the Sith nearly as much as a lot of people do, and surprisingly enough, Utapau was one of the few places we actually got to see a proper Clone Wars battle in the films. A lot of fans have been asking for this set or something similar to it for a long time, and finally in 2014 LEGO gave us it. It comes with two 212 Phase 2 troopers. That's a lot of twos. And it comes with 2 airborne troopers, which is a minifigure we have never seen before. And in fact, we've never actually seen it since, which is what makes this set so popular and also so expensive today. Just like the Imperial troopers, in my opinion, this has the perfect mix of airborne troopers to regular Phase 2 212 troopers, making this an incredible army builder. The only thing that I can think of which could have been arguably better than this battle pack would have been if we got the same troopers, but instead of 212th ones, just regular plain white ones, which perhaps some people would have preferred because it would have been even more usable in mocks and stop motions. But personally, considering we never got 212 troopers before and technically we never really got them since, I would say that even though of course it may have been a little better if they'd been more usable, because of course this is just based off one legion, the 212 is a great legion, which of course, by the way, if you're unaware, is commanded by Commander Cody, who is the only commander who properly gets some sort of screen time in the actual films. I would still say the exclusive minifigures make this a stellar battle pack. The set, however, is very disappointing, and I believe it's called like a Tri-Droid or something. I'm not entirely sure what the actual official name of it is, but some people were saying this was meant to represent the massive Tri-Droid which was in the film Star Wars The Clone Wars. However, of course, that one is massive, and unless they really scale down this massively, then I think it's another type of vehicle which may or may not be canon to the actual universe. There are a few rare and kind of cool pieces that come with the set, but overall you are definitely not buying it for this, and what makes this worth the price at all is 100% the minifigures. The set itself is very disappointing. Overall, most people have to agree that this has to be one of the best clone army battle packs of all time. At number 2 is the Kashyyyk Troopers. I thought for a long time about whether to put this above or below the Utapau Troopers, and the only reason I put this above the Utapau Troopers is purely because of how usable these figures are. While, as I said before, the Utapau Troopers certainly can be used in a variety of environments, I would say the Kashyyyk Troopers, because of their camo and more sort of foresty look, can be used in even more, because of course, if you've seen a lot of mocks on YouTube, a lot of them do focus around jungle, woodland area, green kind of things, and therefore I feel these kind of colorings on these clone troopers really do fit in very well, especially the scout troopers, which is something we haven't really seen before for many years. The last time we saw it was in 2005 with the clone turbo tank, and that was a previous very outdated version of it. In terms of printing, this has to be the best clone battle pack we've ever received, and as I said before, the scout trooper is something we wanted to see for many years because it only appeared in that one set from many years ago, and thus it went up in price quite a bit. Similar to the troop transport, the set that comes in this battle pack is something we do see in universe, although it's a significantly scaled down version. Now personally, I haven't really looked for this, but I'm sure on YouTube there are some tutorials about how you can get many of these battle packs and build a larger version of it. That being said though, I still would recommend buying the 2010 version of Swamp Speeder because I definitely feel that's the best incarnation of it. But unlike the troop transport, unless you're planning to part it out or possibly build a larger version, as I said, the set in this battle pack really is nothing special whatsoever, and personally, while some people people do like it because of course it is a smaller version of a set we only got a couple times many years ago. Personally, I would highly recommend getting 2010 one, even though of course it is more expensive, especially considering it's now retired. This one just does not cut it, and to me the troop transport was, even though of course it's not size accurate, it's still passable and something you could put into mock with a few little modifications. And while with this one you could try to make some modifications, make a bigger model, it really is nothing too special whatsoever, and to be honest with you, unless you're planning to do that, this is not going to be worth the money you're going to pay for it. Of course, I'm a big Clone Wars fan, and I would say that these have some of the best printing we've ever seen on any clone trooper ever, and for that reason I of course put it at my number 2. As usual, before I reveal my number 1 pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Clone Troopers Battle Pack, First Order Transport Speeder, and the Geonosis Troopers. I considered for a long time about where to place this on this list, but I decided that the best battle pack of all time had to be the one we were all waiting for, the one we all expected, and the one we've all seen before. Arguably the best clone battle pack of all time is the Clone Walker Battle Pack. In many ways, this battle pack is actually fairly outdated. The set is something we have seen a lot since and really isn't too special whatsoever. The Gunner Trooper is kind of cool, but we did see him in other sets, and quite frankly, he's not really that wanted. I mean, when you look at this battle pack objectively compared to other modern battle packs, there's really nothing too special about it. The Walker that comes with it is very basic, something we have seen, and the pieces really aren't that special. It does come with one gunner, which I guess is kind of cool, but since that point, we of course have had a Phase 2 gunner, which came with Republic Fighter Tank, which is quite cheap as well as the fact that back in 2009-2010, back when the Clone Wars was in full swing, it wasn't particularly uncommon. I mean, this was the cheapest set you could get a clone gunner, but there were other sets he did come in. And in fact, even the major draw of this set, which of course were the Phase 1 Troopers, have been remade and remastered in the 2013 battle pack, and in fact, it's arguable that today, those new troopers are even easier to acquire in large amounts than these older Clone Wars troopers were. So it's clear, when you look back at this battle pack today, it's not nearly as appealing or desired as it used to be, so it seems a bit odd that many people love this battle pack so much above all the others. I put this down to two major reasons, them being how usable the figures are and the fact that you can basically use these figures in virtually any mock, stop motion, or whatever you're doing, and also because of the nostalgia which comes with this set. Now, as I said at the beginning, if you weren't collecting Lego back in 2009 and you weren't really aware of what was going on, perhaps you weren't watching YouTube or any of those kind of things, then it's understandable why you wouldn't truly grasp why this is so popular. On the surface of it, it seems almost like any other battle pack, and by today's standards, as I said, it's not particularly desirable. But in 2009, trust me when I tell you, this was the bomb. At the time, this was, and arguably still is, the easiest and cheapest way to get regular, just bog standard Phase 1 troopers, which is what everyone really wanted and is what really everyone's been asking for ever since this battle pack was retired. You could use these minifigures for basically anything. There was no mock, no stop motion, no anything you were building which these could not be a part of, apart from maybe of course if you were building something from a different era. But at that time, the Clone Wars was massive and everyone was making Clone Wars stuff. You also have to remember that this was the first clone battle pack ever to give us actual faces underneath the helmets, because if you weren't aware, in 2007 the clones that we got with those battle packs had black heads underneath and open visors. And even though by today's standards the faces are very cartoony and really are almost like a meme in the Lego community, back then, to me at least, it really gave a certain level of individuality which you never really saw in the film, something which I thought could work really well if you're trying to make like a little film, a little story, because it would work so well in the sense that yes, they are all clones and they've kind of got similar personalities, but they're also different, and that of course would be more difficult for the clones that didn't actually have proper faces underneath their helmets. And going with that, this was the first battle pack to come with attachable accessories and also of course detachable accessories, as in visors, scopes, pauldrons, all that stuff which you'd never really properly seen before. The only things we'd ever really seen were like with the odd stormtrooper which came with sort of fabric pauldron, which was a bit tacky, not really that special whatsoever, and also fairly rare. But this was the first time that you actually had proper 3D elements which you could add to any minifigure of your choosing. If I had to improve this set in any way, I would simply say that perhaps you could remove the gunner and replace him with just another regular Phase 1 trooper, or perhaps maybe a slightly specialized trooper. That'd be kind of cool. And also you could remove the set and replace it with another more usable set, perhaps with more usable pieces or anything along those lines, although the set itself has also become fairly iconic in the Lego community. With that being said, in my opinion, the Clone Walker Battle Pack from 2009 is the best battle pack in the history of Lego Star Wars. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. If you have any differing opinions, which I'm sure you do, please leave it down in the comments. I would love the discussion. If you like this video, please do give it a like. That is the purpose of the like button. If you like this video but you don't give it a like, then you are breaking the system, and when the machines take over the world, you only have yourself to blame. That being said, if you did not like this video, then please do not give it a dislike, because that is just a ploy by the Illuminati to hack your brain. What little brain you have. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed New Year's, and I hope 2018 is considerably better than how 2017 turned out. Although it's not looking too good so far, but hey, let's stay optimistic. We've still got like another 11 months. Oh god, we're screwed. Affordable for young children, but also very playability. Lego decided they wanted to make a sub-theme within Star Wars, which is both they wanted to make both a sub-theme within yet also very playable, as in they 10-year and thus, with that in mind, here's my to kick off this list, we have this battle pack caused a bit did not have nearly as much detail, and personally just they really can increase the price of a battle pack. I don't know how many times I've said the word battle pack, because you want to build a large amount of a certain who of course they know is into Lego Star Wars, but they may not. If they know their child is into Lego Star Wars, but who they know is into Lego Star Wars, but they fuck, can't speak. I would say maybe one Bob Squad Trooper. Different types of skins and detailing that we hadn't really seen in other things. I already talked about the details of this set in my top 10 battle packs of the year. That's what I'm doing right now. Is the Rebel Trooper battle pack. Because I did go more detail into my almost cheaper design, which is also fairly replicant. What the hell does that mean? So on the arms, the legs, no. Printing used on the arm, no. Printing of the specifically the darker colorings, no. Darker colorings on the torso and the legs, no. The helmet, specific. Ugh. I think this is the best Rebel quite frankly, I would say there's no better Rebel and surprisingly enough, Utapau. It comes with two phase 2 shit. And maybe if you're gonna build a larger model, as I said, I wouldn't really recommend. I considered for a long time where real faces underneath, which at least to me gave them a sense of individuality. And I guess if you place the set with another set, which maybe a bit